And my arraignment screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Hove!
Hey, are we even?
Hey,
Sports and entertainment.
that's part of the culture, man. It's part of who we are. It's a unique relationship that we have in Black America between the two, between athletes, entertainers, and activism. And today we're gonna break bread on that.
Yeah, militancy, activism, sports, entertainment, all that. The OGs, man. I think that's what we were building on, having the importance of having a cultural OG. You know, a lot of people, they know about Muhammad Ali. He may be one of the most famous activists / athletes. Came in the game as Cassius Clay, converted to the Nation of Islam, became Muhammad Ali, got his name from Elijah Muhammad. He had Malcolm X as an OG too. Man, how many athletes could say they had Malcolm X as an OG?
Yeah, they had, it definitely was. I think the athletes of the past generation. Well, one, I think the talking points were a little bit more clear. You know, one thing I can say about that era, they had a platform. So, you know, an athlete, you know, had a certain level of talking points. But I do think there was a level of commitment to the information in that era. I can't say, you know, I don't know with this era what people do or don't do behind closed doors, you know. True. So, but I don't know, like, I don't know if it's as clear cut for today's athlete entertainers that get thrown into activism. Like, I feel like, if anything, like Steven Jackson, if anything, you know, I would say, you know, I can't blame him. I would say maybe the elders have failed him, you know, because this man was thrust into the front of a civil rights movement, and who was there to guide him through it? Shannon Sharp, you know. I mean, seriously, you know, and I can't, let me not say that elders failed him, but, you know,
because like I said, we don't know what was going on behind closed doors.
Yeah, exactly.
We just see the product that's in front of us.
Yeah, exactly. I just think that we're in a unique position, though, because, you know, our athletes and our entertainers have the loudest voices. So, you know, and unlike other ethnicities, you know, they play a special role in, you know, Black American culture.
Let me ask you this. At a certain point in history, if we go back to, let's say, Jesse Owens, running track, or let's go Jake Johnson, first Black, you know, heavyweight champ, and then you had what's my man, Joe Louis after that. I think at a certain point, you were just to see it first was almost like an act of activism. I don't even know if Jesse Owens, who knows in his private life where he stood on certain issues. It's just that, hey, he accomplished something. Or Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber. I mean, we know it's been documented that Jack Johnson was out there wilding. Yeah. Jack Johnson had the white women, he had the gold tooth. I mean, Jack Johnson was the superstar, of a boxer, going in the areas that were supposedly segregated, bringing his white woman. Nobody was doing that at that time. He was the heavyweight champ. People feared him, but there was really no activism on his side. He was just a Black man, and people were just happy to see one of us make it. Yeah.
No, and that's one of those things too, where you know, on the representative success, you know, thing, that part is that's one thing. If we look at a modern Black America, I'm starting to really take a little bit of a different perspective on, because, like, when we talk about one of us making it, is one of us making it really a sign of anything besides one of us making it? I mean, one of us making it for all means can be an outlier. You know, if and I know in the beginning, coming from slavery, coming from our background, we had to celebrate the breakthrough. There was only, you know, reality was there may only be room for one of us to go to college or get an education. But today, you know, in that mentality, all, you know, even going back to the famous Hove line, all the hustlers love it just to see one of us make it. I don't know if one of us making it really is you know, is that an accomplishment? Now, optics matter. So sometimes just seeing a guy do something is inspiring, but
what about celebrating this new thing of celebrating Black billionaires? Like Tyler Perry became a billionaire, and it's, oh man, that's, you know, that's a sign of excellence, a sign of one of us making it. Or, you know, Jay-Z reported, you know, in the Forbes, they'll say, oh man, he's reached the status of becoming a billionaire, and we celebrate. The poor people celebrate.
Yeah. That's tricky, man, because I mean, on one hand, there is a level of like that's some inspirational stuff. You know, a guy that's homeless in his car, you know, with nothing, to turning this into a $1 billion industry. But again,
is the money in a weird way like his activism? Like, okay, now I'm a billionaire. I can pay for the George Floyd funeral. I can fly in the people on my private jet. Is that?
Well, I mean, I think with success, it does bring resources that you can contribute.
It's a resource.
You know, but yeah, as far as like, you know, I guess on two sides, you're saying like, should we celebrate when individuals have massive breakthroughs and success? I mean, I think from a representative and from an optic standpoint, it's worth celebrating. But I think as a people, you know, I never really hear Black excellence attached to like something that we've done. So you never hear someone say, you know, hey, black women are now the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs. Black excellence. Black excellence normally is associated to individual accomplishments. And I don't know if I definitely think individual accomplishments should be celebrated, but I don't know how individual accomplishments necessarily benefit us all as a people. You know, how does, you know, if Magic Johnson owns a theater, Starbucks, you know, franchise, this, that, and the other, as an industry, unless there's resources that come from that person's success, you know, the way that other ethnicities, whether that's in banking, in access to funds, and like that, I think until if we're not, see, we're just happy to have one of us make it. So we don't even a lot of times ask those questions.
It's just the aspirational look of it.
Because
a lot of times we feel like, well, we hadn't seen that before, so okay, he did that. He, you know, it's I guess in a sense it's celebrating Black capitalism.
I want to, but all the hustlers love it just to see 27 of us make it. You know, like just to see the whole, you know,
you want to see the resources being pulled together for more than just celebrating one of us in a particular field.
Yeah, I think as Black America, I think we have to kind of I don't want to say that we don't need to celebrate the people who do break through, but I think we do kind of suffer from a little bit of one-itis. You know, hey, we had a kid from Fifth Ward make it to Harvard. But like, okay, that's great. But like, if only he made it to Harvard, then we still are dealing with the same exact problems. Like,
you know what it is though? Sometimes we just feel like when you never had anything for a long time, you just happy that, oh man, my homeboy got something new. Or, oh man, my homegirl was able to get a scholarship. Because for so long, you feel like, okay, having that inferiority complex, man, unfortunately, when you have that inferiority complex, you do just start celebrating every first. Like you hadn't even gotten to a point to where it just doesn't even matter. At a certain point, you know, it was a big deal. Oh man, the first Black quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, you want to get to a point to where that's not even the big thing that you're celebrating.
I got a question. Like, cause this is a question I never have asked, but now that I just popped in my head. Should we be asking what's in it for me? Hey, guy, Black billionaire in Houston. Okay, great, what's in it for me?
Yeah,
literally, what is in it for me? You know, because if not, what am I really celebrating? You know, and that comes off. It feels selfish almost.
Or ask, I mean, do you have the well-being of your people in mind? And maybe that's a loaded question to ask, but you know, hey, you know, if you look at the activism or someone like Paul Robeson, right? You say, okay, a dude born in 1800s, father was a slave or enslaved. You say, okay, this man went to Rutgers, Phi Beta Kappa, valedictorian, played football, then went to Columbia, got a law degree, passed the bar in New York. Couldn't get a job during that time. Nobody want to hire a Black lawyer. Gets in the theater, sings. And even the roles that he had to take with all that, that dignified resume that he has when he cracked into Hollywood doing the silent films, he still had to do some of the shucking and jiving. And black people were still looking at him like, what are you doing? But it was still, some people say, well, he did it in a dignified way and how he portrayed his roles and how he presented black people. And then even through all of that, when you say the what's in it for me, even through all of the success and all of the Hollywood, it was still a sense of, hey, I'm still one of the people that's out there being discriminated against.
Yeah, and just going back to that point too, like Kanye West is a billionaire. What's in it for me? Now that sounds selfish as hell, and it feels selfish for me even saying that. But I think other ethnicities ask that. Like, okay, did Kanye become a billionaire? Okay, does that mean that now I can pitch an idea to Donda? Does that mean that now?
No, it means he got something to sell you, so he can continue to be a billionaire.
And
that means these new Adidas coming out.
and nothing.
That's what's in it for you.
And hey, nothing's wrong with that. But I think that the only thing that I'll say that's with that is though we celebrate it like it's an accomplishment for us. And I'm like, are these accomplishments for us? When Jackie Robinson plays in the MLB. He's playing in the MLB, but that's an accomplishment that means that more black people can now play in the MLB. You know what I'm saying? Like when we had different breakthroughs, we having breakthroughs that meant that a door was open for future people to be able to do that. I think we celebrate accomplishments that purely are like literally just, hey, look at how big his house is. But like, can I get a room or can I, you know what I'm saying? And it's just kind of how I'm really just a new mentality, but I'm starting to kind of feel that way.
I think, man, we as a people, man, like this goes to that symbolic victories thing. I think we love, a symbolic victory, man. And it kind of almost feels like, how Jay-Z is on that aspirational rap?
Yeah.
Like, he just tells you, it's almost, he talks in third person a lot about how he did this and how he did that. And people just seem to relate to that because they can basically see themselves in the way that he's speaking or whatever. And so it's just kind of like that whole thing. It's like he's a symbol of success, of aspiration. You know what I mean? And
see, and that's the thing. In 2020, I think we need. I don't think living vicariously is healthy anymore. Now, okay, if you're talking about Obama, a president, okay, I'll live vicariously. But a successful entrepreneur, that his success means something. Now, and on the flip side, optics do matter because it does. When you see someone do something, everything I've done, I saw a black man do first. So I do believe that there's power in optics, but I do think if we were to look at modern day celebrity and activism and this, that, and the other, and entertainment, we never, at least to my knowledge, even though Dick Gregory was, probably the highest paid, black comedian, maybe one of the highest paid black entertainers, I don't recall, or none of my research has shown Dick Gregory being celebrated for the size of his income, for the bag that he had, for that.
Yeah, it did start to change to where the materialism became associated with the aspiration. Yeah. And then also you gotta think about the fact that when you look at historically, if you look at entertainers and athletes at a certain time that did speak out, there were consequences that came with that. If you look at what happens now, guys can speak out and it's not as bad. It can be lucrative now to speak out. It can be lucrative to be an entertainer or an athlete that's an activist. A lot of times, that's what happens when rappers aren't selling records anymore. They become activists.
Yeah, or podcasters.
or college professors, or, know. Oh, man. But it's just one of those deals where you say, okay, if I say Paul Robeson, now then he becomes communist and he goes to the Soviet Union, and the U.S. is like, we got a blacklist on communists, and then he comes back in bad health and he dies in solitude. Or you look at a guy like the brothers at the Olympics, 1968, John Carlos and Tommy Smith. You say, man, they did that, and that was symbolism. That was an act of symbolism. Yeah. But at that time, that was needed symbolism. Some people say, hey, that symbolism.
Sometimes symbolism, if symbolism is showing that, hey, I'm with you, I'm with y'all, regardless of where I'm at.
But that was in 68, so that means, hey, okay, at a certain point, it has to be some action because now we have way more resources. That took them away from resources. That activism, at a certain point, it's like, okay, now I can't get a job anywhere. That hurt me more than it helped me. Craig Hodges, speaking out and writing letters to George Bush and trying to get the players to boycott around that time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, nah. And then his career's ended. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Yeah.
He didn't want to stand for the pledge. Then he said, okay, well, I'll just stand and pray during the pledge. Then at a certain point, hey, he can't get on the team.
Yeah, during the anthem, but yeah.
Those acts of activism or taking a stance or symbolism, whatever you want to call it, came with a consequence. Now, I'm really trying to think of, and even if we use Kaepernick, we'll say, well, it came with a consequence that he doesn't get to play in the NFL.
It came with a short-term consequence. Now, I mean, I don't think that Kaepernick did this knowing. I think Kaepernick was willing to risk everything once the thing got moving, but it turned into something that really was. So
how much of a risk really was it for him at the state he was in his career?
I still think it was a risk because, it wasn't like there was no saying that, hey, you're going to do this, you're going to get a Nike deal, you're going to get this. So, I mean, it was a risk in the sense that, like, you were risking, like, your livelihood at that point. I mean, because he didn't have – now, once the tables turned and he became, almost like –
it became marketable.
Yeah, he became almost like somewhat of a hero or a social justice hero. Then the payoff came, but I don't think, just me speaking for myself individually, I don't think that he took a knee with a master plan to be a social justice, face of that, and he knew that he was going to get these. I think he truly was willing to lose everything, but I think,
and I think Savvi was saying at that point in his career, as a backup quarterback, almost to say, would he have gotten cut anyway?
No, I don't think he would have got cut anyway. Because I mean, it wasn't like he had been a backup quarterback for 3-4 years. It was his first. It was his first time being benched since being a starter. So I mean, I think.
Yeah, he was still a viable talent.
Yeah, I don't think it was like a situation where he was done and now he was. I do think the initial sitting down was out of displeasure with his being benched, but I don't think it was like he didn't have nothing to lose or something like that. Because he still had a viable career, 27-year-old quarterback who played in the Super Bowl. Somebody would have gave him another shot.
He wasn't his acts didn't lead to him losing it all. He lost his job, but he maintained and maybe even made more.
Yeah, he probably,
after losing his job.
He became immortalized, He became something bigger than what he probably would have been just as the athlete, So it did take him to another place.
Yeah, because you compare Ali, and people who say Muhammad Ali or Colin Kaepernick. Thing is, Muhammad Ali, with what he lost, that could have been the end of his boxing career, and he didn't have anything to fall back on. Around that time, there was no deal to market that to that degree. Now you can market even more so. Now you can market activism. I mean, even down to an afro, man, it's marketable. We've been able to people have been able to profit off of the symbolism of activism from people of the past.
But even
now
Ali
the
in
black
the long
fist
run,
is marketable. You can put that on a T-shirt and make money off of it. Back in the day, that may have gotten you killed.
But even in the long run, you can say Ali benefited from his activism. Now, history loves to love you once you're dead. But if you want to say like as a brand licensing, he probably is bigger because of his activism. But he still sacrificed. I mean, a man,
Yeah, but that was a long run.
Yeah, prison is prison. So there's no faking that. I think like it's a unique relationship that we have because. A lot of people hate Jason Whitlock. Our nickname for him, Broken Clock. We think, hey, he be right every now and then. But he made a great point. He said that the NFL is the leading creator of black male millionaires. And from my research, I haven't found anything to dispute that. So it's like for us, we have an interdependent relationship with athletes and entertainers in Black America because. These are like our wealthiest Black Americans with the biggest platforms. So it's like, yes, is LeBron would it be great if LeBron had the education of a Wesley Muhammad? Yeah, that would be wonderful. But we don't really have those type of people, so we have to kind of entrust a lot of times our social activism leadership.
Well, I'm not gonna say when you say we don't have those type of people. Can you expound on that when you say we don't have those type?
What I say is this: like a LeBron as a professional athlete, or even like a Steven Jackson. LeBron is a basketball player. LeBron, I'm not gonna say that he hasn't engaged in some level of self-education, but this isn't somebody who, to my knowledge, has engaged in advanced study of how social injustices move, laws, legal proceedings, those type of things. I don't know what his knowledge of history is like, but at the same time, that doesn't discredit him from being a voice that has 40 million followers that can speak on an issue and immediately get the word out about something, particularly something that may be an injustice that we need eyes and attention on. So there's kind of like a little bit of I don't know what the word for like a reverse payoff, but like there's a little bit of a cost because sometimes our loudest voices, they're not going. The movement today isn't going to be led a lot of times by a Malcolm or we're not. The movement isn't being led by the Wesleys or the Tonys, the Dr. Tonys or the even like a Risa Islam or And I don't want to say that I don't want to only reference like Brothers in the Nation, but like just in general, it's not being. Our homeboy Jason Ray, brilliant mind. But a lot of times those people do not have the platforms that and I think I think what would be best almost is if some of our scholastic minds and the Dr. West and those if their expertise was then like met with the athletes who have the platform and they really just put a bullhorn behind it, I think we would find like a real healthy medium where you got the best of both worlds. But I think right now we just got athletes that's being thrust and they're having to make decisions in real time. And I don't know if they are advising or consulting.
They have people. They have people to make sure that their image is portrayed in the best way possible. They have resources. I don't want to come across like I'm making excuses for athletes and entertainers because they have the resources and they have the means, but it's if they want to. One of my cultural OGs, Dr. Mario Badelli, he's a government professor. He taught at Prairie View. And I asked him, I said, man, these professors, a lot of these intelligentsia guys, the Wests and the Gates and these guys, and they go and they teach at Princeton, Harvard. He said, that's by choice. It's by choice. These decisions are, if you wanted it, you would know where to find it.
Yeah, but
if you want it.
A lot of times they're doing it. A lot of times these are things that, Air Gardner happens. No one else with a platform on that level is saying anything. The man puts on an "I Can't Breathe" shirt. I don't think that that hey, you need to have a master's in African American history to wear a shirt to support. But I do think like now that the activism is taking another step, and now the microphone is coming in front of brothers, then having some type of advisor or having some type of would help. I think again like Steven Jackson. This man's best friend or twin or I don't know the actual blood relationship, whatever. Someone close to him was killed, and I don't know how. One thing I don't know this only in Black America is like if I'm related to the person who dies and I'm the leader of the movement. Like that's still kind of I still don't necessarily fully understand that, but he's kind of thrust.
Yeah, but also we have to be aware of, and this is off topic from that particular situation. Aware of people that have been picked to be leaders of a movement. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, this guy is speaking or this guy is speaking. So all of these people are rallying. And then when you give the microphone, 90% of the people that have the microphone are entertainers or are athletes. And it skews the line of, okay, growing up, they said, have something to fall back on because you're not going to be able to play sports all the time. And then now when you look and you say, okay, from a marketing standpoint, you don't have to grab that microphone. You can say, no, I'd rather this person speak on my behalf that has more knowledge and more intelligence on this particular subject. If I go to a rap concert or if I go to a sports event.
Let's just look at a real event, real life. If there's after a game, someone comes up to LeBron James, Lakers just finished playing. Someone sticks a mic in LeBron's face. They're in the locker room. They're asking him what he thinks about, whatever, Kenosha, Washington. What is he supposed to say? At this point in time, I don't want to speak about it, but when I get with Tony Muhammad, then I'll come back.
You can say, I don't know enough about that to give you the answer that I want to give. I need to do more research on that. It's okay to admit that you don't know or that you don't have the research. See, that's the pressure of feeling like, oh, they have to have something to say and it has to be this. And the point I was making is that in the bigger scheme of the rallies, not even after a game, because an athlete's not gonna go or an entertainer's not gonna go to Cornell West to get advice on how to dribble.
Yeah.
So, you go to where people have those resources that can help you. That's what we do in life. That's what we should do. We know that we are awarded certain resources, so we go there for that. So it's really no excuse, is what I'm saying. And it's okay to say, no, I'd rather not speak on that right now. You don't have to thrust yourself out there. Sometimes people are thrust out there because I don't underestimate the marketing and the vision that people have for after sports and entertainment. A lot of times are professions that decline with age. And you have to start thinking about, what am I gonna do after this? What's my next move? So you start thinking about what's your next move, and you start thinking about where the world is going, what's marketable, and you have a team of people that's coordinating your every move, your every step. So I don't think anything is just done haphazardly. I think a lot of things, a lot of words that are being said, a lot of the symbolism is very well calculated, and it pays off in many ways for some people. It's just we have to be, critical in how we analyze certain things, and we have to learn from the history of the past and learn from the people that did do it at a certain point when it wasn't lucrative.
Well, see, the thing about it is, on that side, I don't dispute what you're saying, but it's not like they get a syllabus that says, hey, on October 22nd, there's going to be another police shooting. Be prepared to speak out on this. So it's like a lot of times these things are happening so fast, and just like with me personally, I just don't believe in rash decisions with anything, to a flaw probably, but like when, hey, a shooting happens in Wisconsin, you have a bunch of 25-year-old millionaires, a lot of them, just being frank, not, fully educated, in that subject, that are trying to make a decision that they genuinely feel like is best. Are they gonna make bad decisions and maybe not the inaccurate decisions? They probably are, but at the same time, if we start qualifying them and saying, hey, they have to have this, and this to speak on it.
No, nobody's saying that though. That's the thing. We're saying it's like Michael Jordan. People were, oh, Michael Jordan didn't. He was probably the most honest in saying, I didn't speak on it because I didn't know enough about that. And yeah. I have to respect that honesty. I respect that more than feeling like, well, I have to speak on it because it's the pressure that I have to say something. No, you don't have to.
Well, no, I'm not saying something is an option, and I do believe that in 2020, a lot of people do forget that, like, hey, not speaking on something is an option. But I just feel like, if you take them away, what, a lot of these stories, Trayvon Martin was spent 4 days as a DOA. Like these, it's not like a lot of these stories are happening and they become national news. A lot of times it takes a push after these tragedies happen that actually make the masses know about them. So if you take away that push that some of these players have with their platform, I don't know if we necessarily are better off in the long run. Ultimately, yeah. I mean, how do you get, the most qualified or not even most qualified, the most educated person behind the strategy? That I don't know, because even Ice Cube, he wrote out a Black American agenda. He's an entertainer, and not that it undermines what he's saying or nothing, but it seems like he's kind of having a challenge with getting people to embrace, his thing that he put out. So like, I don't know where a uniform voice that
I'm not saying that we even need a uniform voice. I'm just saying we just live in a day and age where something happens and people are quick to react instead of waiting sometimes. Sometimes it's wise to wait before you react, because sometimes you react and then you got to reel it in. Or a lot of people don't even reel it in. I'm just saying right now, the publicity of something, it's not a bad thing. Yeah. It's not a bad thing. I just know from where I stand, and a lot of it, like you said, it may be an age gap and how things are being presented and how people process things. But you do have resources. So not having resources, is not an excuse.
Yeah, and to be honest, moving at a controlled pace, because I'm just being candid. Like, if you take a step back and you say, hey, after that, the shooting of Jacob, if you took a step back and said, hey, we're gonna spend 24 hours to review this, I think a better result would have come versus just coming right out. I do think we got to have a response in real time as soon as something happened. Does lead to us making a lot of errors and everything like that. And on one thing I say that you said about resources, because Malcolm X felt a lot of the same way. He felt about entertainers. He felt like no other race has their entertainers speak out as if, and he felt a certain way about it. But to the credit of the entertainers of the 60s, They did do their research. Dick Gregory spent millions of dollars on his self-education in this area. Like, Dick Gregory built himself into, a person who was qualified to stand next to Martin, Malcolm, and all that, and speak on things authoritatively. And he did that out of his own pocket. I always say, Dick Gregory before he died, spent $2 million to get a question answered. Yeah. So, that is something to factor in.
At the arraignment, screaming, all those blacks got in sports and entertainment until we even.
Right.
If you're watching this on YouTube, man, hey, y'all, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. This is Gentleman's History Hour.